Netflix, and the amazing project you will see after this conversation. And I am so excited to present to you two chefs that are an example of what we're doing today, how the Latinx community can gather together around the world to bring the best out of everyone and to share knowledge, passion, and of course to feed each other in different ways, not only through food, but also through knowledge and inspiration. And we have two of the most amazing chefs. Cesar Zapada, I will begin with the gentleman, so gender equality is not questioned in this room. He comes from Colombia, and he has an extraordinary story. He has an incredible story. We will talk about that. And of course, the chef that fed us today, I don't know if you tried the tostadas, the tuna tostadas, please. Grace Ramirez from Venezuela. And one thing that they both have is that they are from all over the world. They are not only from the country they were born in. They have shared everything they are, and they have become a world-renowned experts in what they do. And I'm so pleased and honored to be here today with them. So we have half an hour before Netflix and Raizado shows you an incredible love story. So we're here to talk about love and passion and all the good things that happen to all of us as humans. And they all begin with two human rights, basic human rights. One of them is the right to access to water. And the other right is the right to access to food. If we do not have water nor food, we do not have the possibility of inspiration. So we are here defending all human rights and also the experience of love through creation. So we'll begin with Grace now. When was the first time in your life in which you knew food could change people's life?
Well, first of all, is everyone well fed today? First and foremost. Before we start, I just want to say I'm truly moved to be here with my community, feeding you all. It's taken a very long time to do this, and this has been a dream of many people that are visionaries like yourselves, to bring you all together. And I think that food is the one thing that's, like you're saying, is the basic human right, and that it's fuel, and that it brings true culture, our Latino culture, together. So I'm truly moved because you guys throughout this festival are going to be tasting my grandmother's arepas. My mom lives in Mexico. My stepfather is from Peru. And then we brought Chef Valerie Shang, who's Peruvian and a rock star that is going to curate tomorrow's dinner. So first and foremost, thank you again, because this is truly an honor to be feeding my community that I'm so passionate about. But, you know, I grew up in a household in Venezuela where I quickly realized when I was little that food can manipulate everyone. Because it was like 50 and 70 of us every Sunday, and it was like ex-husbands, boyfriends, cousins that we didn't really like. It was a bunch of misfits, and like el vecino, the neighbor, that random, and they would all come together on a Sunday, and it was because my grandmother will cook. And the funny thing was, my grandfather is a great cook, even though he's a general from the army in Venezuela, General de Brigada de la Aviación Venezolana. And he was a great cook, and my grandmother was a great cook, and a lot of her siblings were a great cook. So I quickly realized the power that food had in manipulating the masses when I was very young.
That's interesting because you said it in the best way possible, but also politicians know that, and they took it the wrong way. And we are here to remember that we can take it to the right side, to the light side, as Star Wars would say. So bring it to the light. Cesar, when was the first time, you were 11 years old, I believe, when you decided that you wanted to help your family and you thought you could be a good cook? Is that correct?
Yes. So my parents, we came here from Colombia. We left Colombia in the late 80s because of the issues that our country was having with cartel and other guerrilla politics, a lot of crazy stuff that our country was going through. So we arrived to New Jersey, and as immigrant parents, my parents came here to make sure that we had a better life. My parents worked 2 full-time jobs to make sure that we were able to survive. And once I became a little bit older, about 11 years old, my mom used to just leave me instructions or directions like, look, this is what you need to do. Just cook the rice, cook some beans, or a little bit, sancocho. And then little by little, I just started, just learning how to cook those dishes. And the reason why, I started cooking was out of necessity. Because, during that time, my parents were just working. So once I got out of school, I got home, started cooking, making sure that the food was ready. So then like that, me and my siblings were able to eat. And then like that, my dad got home, there was some food for him too. So then, that's how my passion, I guess, for cooking started.
Grace, most of you know that Grace has been on TV, on many, many TV shows. But I want Grace to tell us, to share a story of how you went through these television shows and all of a sudden you knew there was a message that you had within you that you had to bring to the community to talk about it. What was it?
I love the theme of this festival, that one of them is about representation, right? And I think that, I was very lucky to, at 18, I was born in Miami. My family is from Venezuela. A lot of my uncles lived in Mexico. My stepfather's from Peru. My mom has lived pretty much everywhere around Latin America. And when I came back when I was 18, I had an aunt that worked for Nickelodeon. So they hired me when I was I was 18 years old. And I started working at Nickelodeon and I worked my way up. And long story short, I was then in charge of artist-related specials by the time I was 24. So I was interviewing Jennifer Lopez, Beyonce, Mark Anthony, everyone. And it was very overwhelming, right? Because it was very young, Alejandro Sanz and Shakira, and it was pretty cool. But I think I didn't realize the impact that. But I did notice at MTV, because I was leading artist-related specials and I was in New York, and we launched MTV Tres, which was for Latinos, the first MTV for Hispanic, U.S. Hispanic. I don't even know how it's called anymore. But the thing was, I would show up in these meetings, and it was MTV US. It wasn't MTV Miami, and I was used to working in Miami. And then I was like, yeah, we can do this, and we can launch this interactive show, and I can interview Beyonce, and I can interview Ricky. Ricky's my friend. And they were like, who the F are you? And I was like, oh, this is not so fun anymore, because I'm not in Miami anymore, now I'm in New York. But I realized that it was about representation, and that I wasn't gonna let anyone tell me that I couldn't do something. And that I was gonna fight my way to be heard, and that I was gonna fight, even if it wasn't me first in front of the camera, because I was behind the camera, I was gonna fight for our stories to be told. That was my mission. And then I was like, okay, I've interviewed Ricky enough, I've interviewed Jennifer enough, but Jennifer said something to me very, very important. She said, I've never let the stereotypes get to me. I've always thought I was the new American girl. And that, I would say to my agents, send me to everything. Don't just send me to Latino castings, send me to everything because I am the new American girl. And I didn't let that chip get on my shoulder because I knew that I was one of them. Like, and that was very important. And she goes, and you're just like me. And I was like, Jennifer, I'm not like you, like, at all. I mean, that's great that you're saying that, but like, no, like, I mean, I'll take it, but not really. And but I liked her message. Her message was just like, don't let the stereotypes get to you. And I got sick of interviewing artists, and then I said, I'm going to work with food because that's what I loved. And then there was this channel called the Food Network, which I wanted to work for. And I said, well, I'm gonna go work for the Food Network. And I'm gonna quit MTV and I'm just gonna go follow that dream. Well, don't do that. Try to have another job before you quit that other job, especially as a Latina. And well, long story short, I got that job in Food Network, and thank God for Bobby Flay for believing in us as Latino women, because there was no one else that looked like us. And I said to Bobby one day, I said, you know, why does no one on the Food Network look like me, like on TV? He goes, well, let's put Marcela Valladolid on the air. And I said, you should. She's fabulous. She's Mexican. She's amazing. And you should put her on the air. And I said, but, you know, Marcela is Mexican. But there's no one that is like new American girl. And he goes, why don't you go be the J-Lo of cooking? And I was like, that's funny that you think I look like J-Lo, but I'll try to, again, I'll just try to represent us all in the best way I can, to be a voice for our community. And that's been my mission throughout all these stories, just try to be really a voice for the community and not just be a Venezuelan girl or a, you know, my heart is partly Mexican and I have a lot of 25%, but just try to be a voice to the community. That's always been my mission. In front of the camera, behind the camera, in the kitchen, writing books. So, yeah.
So, Cesar, you bring people from all over the world to your kitchen, but before that, you also study arts. So there's something that you have in common, that you're linked to the arts and you're linked to finding your way to people's hearts through cooking. So here's his girlfriend, and I can tell that you're
wife.
feeding her because she's so happy. So you find a way through people's heart, through cooking, but also in many, many ways that we will talk about, in social commitment to people around the U.S. That are Latinx community, but not necessarily are. How did you move from the arts to cooking again? How did you make it your trade? How did you find it a call? Like it was your calling?
I think, you know, cooking to me has always been an expression of how I express myself as an artist. I still consider myself as an artist, and in the way that I express, you know, my emotions, my feelings, my passion, love, everything that, you know, I have towards this, my career and this craft is through, you know, cooking food. And, you know, I love cooking because it brings people together. Food is one of the only things that you can sit politicians, religious people, all these different type of people in one table, and they're able to agree on one thing, that the food is delicious. Other than that, forget it. You know, they'll go crazy, they'll kill each other. But when they're sitting together eating some delicious food, they'll agree and they'll say, you know what, this is delicious. And to me, that's one of the reasons why I love to cook. And of course, you know, my wife there, basically, you know, she fell in love with me because of how I cook.
He's blushing.
She doesn't want to admit it, but she's the one that slid into my DMs in IG. and the first thing, I posted this picture about, or I think it was a video about a bread pudding that we have at the restaurant. And then she made a comment, and she's like, ooh, yummy, delicious. So then I said, you should come with your boyfriend or husband. And then she's like, oh, I'm single. There you go. Let's throw the hook. And then, 3.5 years later, we're married and we're happy. And then next to her is my business partner and I guess my ex-wife.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's what food does. You can
And
have an
exactly.
ex-wife and a current wife
And
together.
that's what food is all about,
There you
We
go.
bring people together. And as you can see, they're sitting, they don't hate each other.
They love each other.
Exactly.
They have they have a couple of things in common.
Right.
Great.
Right.
Love that.
So, that's how my love is for food. That, one thing that she said that she's able to, food, she was able to manipulate people or to, and
It wasn't me, it was my grandmother.
I can do the same in
Aye.
some way.
I guess we can change language. Narrative is what makes us transform into different people and different societies. So I don't think it's manipulation. I think it's sharing, and it's sharing the knowledge and sharing love. Somehow you just describe it perfectly. It's not how you manipulate, it's how you let people know that you care about them, even though
There's
they
a little
think
bit of
differently.
manipulation in our culture.
think
Come on,
so?
let's admit it. Un poquitito
Well, I
de
know that. I
manipulación.
know when I
Voy a
put-
cocinar, and then they're like, okay.
I know. I created a
Sorry.
pozole de langosta, and I know I could manipulate a couple of lovers there, but that's a whole nother story. So now, you usually in TV, on movies, we see all these stories of a chef that is usually a very nasty person, mistreating everyone around him or her, and all of a sudden he or she falls in love, and then everything changes, right? And in this case, in real life, these two magnificent, amazing, incredible, brilliant people we have sitting with us, it's absolutely the contrary. They have been working all their life, all their professional and personal life, to make sure that in their kitchens, everyone is included. And that is exactly what, I don't want to make you cry, but I know it's the basis of why you're such a success. Both of you are so successful, and I admire you so much because you do not portray your typical stereotype of the incredible, successful chef that will destroy everyone around them. You build around you. You create life. You recognize people around you. And you bring people from other countries and cultures and languages to be with you, to work with you, to learn from you, and you learn from them. And that I just celebrate you for that, because that's what Raizado is all about, is to bring the roots out, to build new trees and a new narrative, and that's what you're doing with your cooking. And I so celebrate you. I want to finish this like the second part of our night before we have this amazing Netflix film shown, by asking you to share with us a story of how you knew you needed to get people from all over in your kitchen, and how to create environments that are inclusive and respectful and creative, instead of your typical leadership environment in which you mistreat people or you yell at people for them to obey you. In a kitchen full of love, like the kitchens these two incredible human beings we have here have, there's no yelling and there's no mistreating people, there's no violence. And that's why we're here in Raizado. We're talking in every possible way to tell that creativity must and should never be about violence, discrimination, or mistreating anyone to grow. We grow together. So can you share a story?
Well, I think it's exactly that, right? Like, I was really mistreated when I went to culinary school. I think things have changed drastically since I went to culinary school. But I remember clearly when I was, a student, and I would go to the executive chef, who was eggs, and then he would talk to our prep cooks, and they were all Latinos, and he would be like, tell that, and I'll be like, and then I would have to translate to my line cooks and prep cooks. What he's really saying is that, en español, ¿no? Lo que en verdad está diciendo, he's like, Grace, he's cursing us. And I was like, no. Está diciendo. So, and I became that bridge between the boss and our people. And I just wanted to make sure that that never happened in my kitchen. And I've been fortunate enough to have a very successful career now, fighting my way through. It has not been easy, but that no one will experience that level of abuse, because I think that, you know, it's about a couple of things, right? Now, you know, La Latina Cocina by Chef Grace Ramirez, my food concept, is about to launch in 80 universities around the country. So, and do you know why this is happening? Because students are being vocal. They want representation in their schools, and they have been so vocal that I've partnered with Aramark, and now they are having their grandma's rice and beans and plantains and tostadas and everything that you're gonna have this week. Students are gonna have it, and that's because students are being very vocal about what they want. But I want to make sure that our culture gets treated with respect, and that you all are very mindful of the humans who feed us, right? Because it takes a village. I can't do what I do without my back of the house. And the back of the house cannot do what they do without the farmers. And the farmers cannot do what they do. It's a domino effect, and I can go on and on and on. But I needed to make sure that what I felt from the top did not happen again. And let me tell you something, the kitchen is a space where all Latinos come together with so much love and respect for each other that is like, it doesn't matter that you're from Colombia, that I'm from Mexico, that you're from Ecuador, from El Salvador. We have a lot of people from El Salvador here. You come together to get the job done, because that's what we do. We get the job done. But you know what? It's funny that when you have a leadership role as a Latino, we don't come together as much. So my message to this crowd is, let's be more supportive from each other from the top, because we are a big minority now in this country, and we need to come together just like we do in the kitchen. Thank you.
Cesar, you do something very similar, but you also work with children. Can you tell us about the story of your work with kids?
Yeah, I work with No Kid Hungry. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with. It's an organization that basically there's 60 million kids in this country. You know, a lot of times we will think that, oh, why? You know, you think that this happens only in third world countries, but no, it happens in our own country. So No Kid Hungry is an organization that basically we raise money, we raise through events, through different things, and we provide those funds to other organizations in order to facilitate, to help with school lunch, school summer programs, through food stamps. So I've been part with No Kid Hungry already for 6 years. I'm part of the Leadership Council. I've been to Washington, D.C. to lobby with state representatives to make sure that, you know, that these kids basically, they don't go to sleep without eating, or when they wake up that they have proper breakfast. And one of the reasons why I became so involved with this program and I'm so passionate about it, it was because me growing up, I was one of those kids. So, you know, growing up with immigrant parents, my parents, you know, they did everything that they could in order to make sure that we had everything. But there were times that they couldn't. And, you know, now I understand, and I always said it, you know, the day that I'm able to provide or to help or to have a voice, that I can make a change, I am going to do so. And, you know, this has been a mission for me. And, you know, as a chef, you know, people here, they listen to what I have to say. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so involved with No Kid Hungry, not only No Kid Hungry, but also the Human Who Feed Us with Monica, because I'm super passionate about also the immigrants. As my parents came to this country, they worked very hard to make sure that we were able to succeed in this country as Latinos, so we can represent, our culture. And yeah, we gotta keep working hard.
So, thank you. We know that people are becoming famous because some people become famous, as in your case, not only because you're amazing chefs, but also because you're incredible human beings. And that's what Raizado is all about, like raising humanity of everyone that is sharing their story here. We will bring the Netflix special in the spirit of food culture. We are pleased to know and share with you the special and exclusive premiere and screening of the Netflix series From Scratch. And we have two people here that do everything from scratch. Not only the food, of course, but also the way we treat each other in the USA. And we needed that change, and you're showing every day that it is possible. Inclusive, being inclusive and being a good human to everyone, to fight racism and sexism and every form of violence. And to close this event and go for Netflix one, tell us a little about the world cuisine, the world kitchen. I was just working on a piece on Ukraine recently, and I interviewed 3 kids that told me that they spent like 5 days without eating anything, and they couldn't find their parents, and they found these weird people. That's the way they describe them, that were in this area, and they were asking them and making this sign like, come here and eat, and they went here, and it was the kitchen, and they were safe. They are now in Spain safe. They lost their families, but when these unknown people fed them, they just had this feeling that everything was possible, that they were not gonna die. So can you tell us, why did you get involved with the kitchen?
So, one of the organizations that I support is World Central Kitchen, and I've been with them since Puerto Rico. And, we're a chef relief team. So in Puerto Rico, when Maria happened, I saw that image of my cousin is Boricua, and her mother, may she rest in peace, she was from Puerto Rico as well. And, we also that image of Trump throwing the toilet paper or bounty paper. And I was like, I need to go help. So I knew Jose Andres had started World Central Kitchen, so I started there. I literally got on the first plane I could and started chasing him around and said, I want to work with you, because, again, I couldn't have done it alone. I wanted to team up with someone that was doing it and was doing it well, and at the scale. Jose reminds me of Monica, they like things at scale. So I was like, okay, Jose, I'll go work with you. And I spent a month in Puerto Rico, about 2,000 meals a day in the mountains and under very extreme circumstances. But then I set up their Venezuela operation, and then I went to the Bahamas, and I work with them on and off. I'm a very humble volunteer / ambassador. But with COVID, it was the most important thing we did was I supervised the New York COVID operation. And long story short, my mission was saving as many Latino / family-owned restaurants as I could. So we saved over 250 restaurants from closing because World Central Kitchen will buy meals from them to then distribute to the community in need and frontline workers. So yeah, I was supervising 100,000 meals a day, and 10 million meals later, we saved over 250 restaurants from closing. But again, it's about helping the community, coming together and understanding that the power of giving. When you give, you find yourself and you find community. So World Central Kitchen is my other family.
Thank you so much. So please, a big round of applause for Chef Grace and Chef Cesar. And please, our dear co-founder of Raizado and Latinx. Come here, Olga Segura, and please present to us the Netflix special. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Grace.
Gracias.
Thank you, Cesar.
If there's any complaints about the food, come to me, please.